This is the IOA Podcast, a space for truth, tenderness, and becoming whole, one breath at a time. Hey everyone, I am Dr. Malaika and welcome back to the IOA Podcast. I am super excited for you to be here in this space that we have created where we heal loudly and we live softly together. If you're brand new to this space, as I say every week, I want you to pull up a chair. I want you to get comfortable because we really want you to not only join us, but to come back with us regularly. And if you've been with me since season 1, since the very beginning of this journey, you already know how it goes. I thank you so very, very much for you being here. And I do not take it lightly that you keep choosing to spending your time with me in these conversations. So before we get into the episode, you know what it is. We got to do the housekeeping. I want to talk to the community because these are the things that are necessary and we want to grow what we're doing and build it with intention. So remember, if this show has met you in a moment when you needed it, these are the 3 quick asks that I always have of you. First, I want you to hit subscribe or follow wherever you are listening. So remember, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can watch us on YouTube. And I believe there's some other places. So anywhere else that podcasts are found, you can find us there. And following is probably the single most powerful thing that you can do. And that helps the work get out to people who need to see it. Second, if you are on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review with one helpful sentence, because by you leaving a review, your review helps new listeners decide to trust us with their time. And then third, as I've been asking you every week for the last couple of episodes, please share an episode this week with someone who has been carrying something quietly. That is our way of community care being put into action. And all of our platforms will be linked in the show notes for the episode. Remember that the Substack companion comes out, and that comes out the same day that our episodes air. And so if you're not already a part of the Substack community, know that we welcome you to become a part. And what you get if you're a paid subscriber is you will get extended practices and guidance this week on the concepts that we'll be talking about in this episode. Specifically, you'll get a somatic practice this week that I think will be very helpful on the journey that we are taking. And if you're not in the position right now to be a paid subscriber, you still want to subscribe to the Substack so that you can get all of the other free things that will be offered to you in that community and return to these items all season long. Let's get into what we are talking about today. I did try to last week give you guys a little bit of a preview of what we were going to be talking about for this week. So if you were with us last week, you know we ended episode 29 standing at the threshold. We talked about living in survival mode, and we talked about what that looks like to be at the threshold of actually walking into wholeness. So today we are going to walk through the door. All right. So we're going to take a first break of the episode. We're going to come back and I'm going to give you some framing for what we are going to talk about for episode number 30. We will be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone. And we are going to get into talking about the core of this episode, which is somatic anchors. We are going to talk about how to make your body a place that you can come home to. So last week, we talked about the threshold. We talked about that strange, disorienting space between surviving and being whole. And I had so many of you reach out through messages, conversations I had about the concepts in the episode. And so a lot of you are saying that you felt what it was that was being expressed. Even had a conversation with a really close friend of mine, my soror. And one of the things she said to me, she's like, were you in the room with me? Right. Basically saying that they felt the messaging, like that it's on time, that this is a space that a lot of us are in. And so we're standing in this doorway. And some of us may have been standing in this doorway for a long time. And the question you're asking is, what do I do now? So this episode is kind of the answer to that question, or at least the beginning of an answer, right? Because the truth, I have to tell you, with as much love as I can put into this sentence, is that threshold is not crossed in the mind. Threshold is crossed in the body. A lot of times we've already done the pre-work. We've already mentally wrapped ourselves around where we need to go, but we don't cross over because we don't do it physically. So it has to happen in our body. We could talk about wholeness all day long. We read about it, we journal about it, we attend retreats, we do affirmations, we listen to podcasts like this one. We quote people that have all the right answers, but none of that is actually going to cross the threshold. The threshold gets crossed when your body is actually physically learning, one cell at a time, that it's allowed to relax. And that doesn't really basically have to brace for something bad to happen as it has done in the past. That the danger that you've been bracing for is gone. And calm's not a trick. You're not being deceived. You're not crazy. It's okay. And here's the hard part for many of us. The body doesn't immediately feel like a safe place to live because it's going to be hypervigilant. It's going to be on guard. Think about the fact that the body is where we kept the receipts of everything that we went through before. It is where we stored all the trauma, all the pain, all the hurt that we didn't realize we were not having the time to feel in the moment because we just needed to survive. The body is where the survival self basically ran her operations. So when the wisdom teacher in your mind says go to the body, a lot of us flinch. The mind is telling us to do something, but the body has basically been a hostile country to us for a period of time. Today, we're going to talk about how to change that, how to slowly, gently, and on your own timeline, turn the body from a country that you've been visiting under duress into a place that you can come home to regularly. The technology that I'm going to give you in this episode is called Somatic Anchors. And by the end of the episode, you're going to have kind of like a starter set of anchors that you can practice this week, this month, or for as long as you feel that it's necessary as you're on your healing journey. We're going to walk through 5 things. 1, what a somatic anchor actually is and why anchors are not abstractions. 2, the anchors most of us already have access to, we don't realize we do, is breathing, touch, grounding, weight, sound, and name. 3, what happens when the body feels like an unsafe house and how to begin tending that. 4, the daily practice of how to build the anchor rhythm into a real rhythm of your life. And then 5, the in crisis practice. What do I reach for when the wave is big and you need to anchor fast? This is going to be the body work because the body is the residence of all of your healing. The mind is the office, but the body is the residence. So you can run your operations out the office for a long time, but you can't actually live there. You're not actually living there. You're living in your body, whether you have been paying attention to her or him or not. And this episode is about turning that house into a home. So let's go home. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to get into definitions. So the question is, what is the somatic anchor? So somatic is one of those words that has kind of gotten thrown around a lot in wellness culture, and it's lost some of its specificity. Somatic at its root means of the body, comes from the Greek word soma, which means the living body. Somatic work in any work that includes the body as the primary site of healing It's not just with the mind. So when I say a somatic anchor, I'm not talking about a thought. I'm not talking about a mantra, an affirmation. I am literally talking about a physical bodily experience that you can return to repeatedly on purpose to remind your nervous system that you are here. You are safe enough. That is what your messaging is, that you're communicating to your body and letting the body know that the moment is actually real. An anchor is something that the body recognizes as ground or stability. It recognizes that I'm here. So while the mind can wander into the past, it can spin out into the future and spiral out with every catastrophe that's happened, the body cannot. So the body can only ever be in the present. The body is the most reliable witness that you have to right now that you have access to. So as an anchor, it is the doorway back to that witness. Why anchors are not abstractions, right? I mentioned that as we were doing the intro, that we're talking about anchors and not abstractions because the survival self lives in our mind. It runs scenarios, it runs hypotheticals, it argues, plans, prepares, it defends, and it tries to be in preparation of what you're going to come against. You cannot outthink your way out of a survival mind because survival is basically the mind's domain. You have to come back into the body, which is a survival self. It does not have full control over. The body has its own intelligence, has its own memory system. It has its own ability to respond in situations. The body has a rhythm that the mind cannot override. The body is the only part of you that the survival self cannot fully colonize. And I want you to know that that's great news. It means that even if your mind has been managing chaos for 30 years, your body still has access to something underneath all of that. The breath is still the breath. The heartbeat is still the heartbeat. The feet on the floor are still your feet on the floor. These are non-negotiable anchors available to you in any moment, regardless of how loud your mind might get in that moment. The body remembers home, even when the mind has forgotten the address. So here's the principle I want you to hold. The nervous system does not learn safety from a story. The nervous system learns safety from sensation. You can tell your body 100 times a day that you are safe, you are okay. If the body has not felt that sense underneath those words, the body will not believe you. It doesn't just believe vocabulary, it believes the weight, it believes the ground, it believes warm hands on a cool chest. The body believes slow, steady breath. That is what it's going to look into. The body believes consistency over time. This is why an anchor is so important. An anchor gives the body something to register. The mind says, I am safe. The body says, prove it. So the anchor is the proof that you are giving to your body that you are safe. Let me give you this quick metaphor. I think about this a lot. Imagine a boat in a harbor during the storm. The water is moving, the wind is loud, the boat itself is going back and forth. There's no version of this where the boat is perfectly still, but the boat does not drift out to sea because the anchor is holding it to the floor. The anchor doesn't stop the storm. The anchor keeps the boat connected to the ground underneath the storm. This is what a somatic anchor does for you. It does not stop the emotions. It does not stop the memories. It does not stop the swell that's going to happen in your life. It keeps you connected in your body to the floor underneath so that whatever comes your way that's moving you, you do not have to drift out to sea. You're still going to feel things. So let's be eyes wide open in this. You're still going to feel things. You're supposed to feel things. The anchor is not avoiding. The anchor is for company. It's the way to stay with yourself while the storm moves through. Think about this example from a previous client that I had that had survived some things. And by her own account, she doesn't know how she was able to do it. She feels like she really shouldn't have made it through the things she went through. After years of talk therapy, she was able to identify the trauma that she experienced. She found the patterns, the insight. She had all of these things and still could not sleep through the night. still set off by sounds, by smells, and particular shades of light, and was now asking why understanding and speaking and knowledge and putting language to things was not working. All I had for her was that the understanding is for your mind, but your body is on a different timeline and it functions in a different way. So insight is the beginning of the work. It's not the end of it. The body needed a different language. The body needed to have anchors. And so that is what she started working on, and it started to be very impactful. So I want us to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to get a little bit deeper into the episode. Be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. We are going to talk about the anchors that we already have. So I want you to walk through with me 6 anchors that almost everyone already has access to. You don't need any kind of special program, equipment. You don't need to spend any money. You just need to know that they're there, and you need to start putting them into practice intentionally before a storm comes. I feel like that's the key. We have to do it before a storm gets here. Your first anchor number one is your breath. The breath is the most universally available somatic anchor that we have. The breath you want when you are anchoring is not that deep breath. It's a long exhale. That long exhale is what's telling your nervous system that you're safe enough to let go. So I want you to try this with me. Breathe in for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2. Now for the exhale for a count of 6. And I want you to really push it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do it again. In for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2. 1, 2. Out for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I mean, really blow it out. That is it. The long exhale is basically activating your parasympathetic nervous system. So remember last week when I was talking about the autonomic nervous system, its 2 subsystems are the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. So the parasympathetic is what puts us back into a rested baseline position. That's your body's rest and recovery branch. So do those 3 breaths in a row, and physiologically, you are going to start a shift in your body, not just with your mood, but your physiology. And that's really important. Anchor number 2 is touch, specifically your own touch. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. You can place a hand on your forehead and one hand on your heart. Or you can place both hands wrapped around you at your upper arms, right? Something close to a hug. What your skin is recognizing is your own touch, that it's a safety signal, because your body knows that your hands are not a threat. Your own touch tells the body, I am here for me. I want you to try doing that for 1 minute with intention while you're doing your slow breathing. The body will respond because it always does. Anchor number 3 is ground. The feet on the floor, the seat of the chair, the back of the wall, wherever your body is making contact with a surface, you can bring your attention there and let it rest. Press your feet gently into the floor. Feel the floor pressing back. That is contact, that mutual pressure between your body and something solid. It tells your nervous system that you're supported, you're not falling because something is holding you. Anchor number 4 is weight. Notice the weight of your own body, the weight of your arms, the weight of your head, the weight of your back. Most of us are walking around carrying our bodies as if they're problems. The anchor of weight invites you to let the body be heavy on purpose. Don't brace, right? Stop bracing it up. Let gravity do the work for a minute. Sit somewhere and let your body get heavy. Let the chair do its job. Let it hold you. Let the floor hold you. Let yourself stop holding yourself up and always being the one to have to feel like you have to brace for something. Anchor number 5 is sound, specifically the sound of your own voice or the sound of something that you feel like signals safety for you in your physical body. It could be a song that consistently soothes you, a piece of music your grandmother used to play. It was funny, my daughters for Mother's Day were going through their baby books. And in one of their books, I talked about the fact that with my first baby, when she was tired or she needed to be soothed, I used to sing this song to her. And I don't even remember where the song came from. I just called it I Can Sing a Rainbow. And I would sing that to her. And it's very soothing and mellow. Some of you guys maybe heard it: red and yellow, pink and green, purple and orange too. I Can Sing a Rainbow. I don't remember where the song came from, but literally that was her peace calm song. Like she would hear it and her body would physically react to me singing that. Find what that is for you. Maybe it's the sound of you humming. Humming activates that vagus nerve, which is one of the major calm pathways. The vibration of your voice in your own chest is probably the oldest soothing technology that you have in your body. You hummed before you had words, and the body remembers this. So that is a great thing that you can go back to. And then anchor number 6, name your own name. Say it out loud. Say it with kindness. Be gentle to yourself. This one feels like it's probably small to you, but I want you to understand how profound it is. When you say your own name to yourself gently with care, you are doing something for the body that it has waited for a lifetime sometimes, or a long time to receive. You're addressing yourself like the beloved. You're basically saying, I'm here. I see you and I know you. So I want you to try that. Say your name out loud with the same warmth that you would use to call a child to dinner or say hello to someone that you care so much about. I want you to notice what happens to you when you do that. So I gave you these 6 anchors: breath, touch, ground, weight, sound, and name. Those are free. They're always with you. You don't need permission, equipment. It doesn't need to be quiet. You can practice them in your car, at the grocery store, in the kitchen when you're at the sink washing dishes, in the middle of a hard meeting, in the bathroom after an event. They work no matter where you are because they are physiological and not philosophical. They speak the language that the body actually understands and responds to. So I want you to pick the one that called out to you. You do not have to use all 6, but pick at least one this week. I want you to use it on purpose 3 times a day, even when you don't need it, especially when you don't need it, because this is your training, right? The practice of anchoring when the seas are calm is what trains the body to find the anchor when the seas are not. Also, I want to give you this small note on what to expect when you start practicing. The first few times you anchor, you might not feel much, and that's normal for this practice. The body is going to be suspicious of these new things that you're doing, these new patterns. And so it has to test it over and over. That's where the consistency comes into place. And eventually your body will let its guard down. So if you anchor on Monday and your body doesn't respond, don't interpret that as evidence that the anchor is not working. The anchor is working. The body is just waiting to see if you're serious. Are you going to stick to this? And then by the end of the week, you will start to notice the difference. So by the end of the month, the anchor will start to feel like an old friend. It'll feel familiar. And we hope that by the end of the season, the anchor will be the thing your body reaches for before your mind even names for you what is happening. That is how the nervous system's retraining work. You are retraining your nervous system. Repetition over time, consistency over intensity, quiet over performance. So let's take another break. And then when we come back, we are going to talk about when the body feels like an unsafe house. So we will be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone. And we are going to get into this segment talking about when the body feels like an unsafe house. And so I think that this is really important for us to get into because I want us to spend some time on this because I think that it's going to be relevant for some of you that are listening. You need to understand that the very idea of going into your body may sound beautiful in theory to a lot of us, but almost feels impossible for some of you in practice. And that's not because you're doing it wrong. It's because for some of us, the body has been a place where we had to learn to leave in order for us to survive. So if you live through trauma, and that's a very wide word that can be, neglect, it could be abuse, it could be medical trauma, racialized, community trauma, loss of someone that you needed, chronic pain or illness, all of that taught your body that being fully present in itself was not safe. So your nervous system had to learn to disassociate, basically. It had to learn to leave and to go into your head in order for you to make it out, right? You go into your head or you go into other people. You may go into other projects to keep yourself distracted just to get away from the sensations that your body is carrying. Not a defect. We talked about how brilliant and amazing our bodies are. This is your system protecting the most tender part of you from something it could not metabolize in that moment. So when, wellness culture says go to the body, get embodied, feel a wave of resistance or numbness or even nausea, that's not failure when you feel that. That's your protector showing up to say, are you sure? Is this safe now? Because the last time you said it was safe, we went in there and it wasn't. So the answer is you don't have to barge in. Go slow, knock at the door, don't force it. Earn the body's trust the same way you would earn the trust of another human being. Get to know yourself, right? Prove to yourself that although it hasn't been kind in a long time, that I'm going to prove to me that with patience and consistency and small offerings, that I am showing myself that it is now safe. So here's what going slowly could possibly look like in practice. Instead of trying to feel everything in the body all at once, you can start with 1 square inch. Put your hand on the back of your neck and don't do anything to feel anything in particular, just holding your hand there. Notice that part of your body for like 30 seconds. The next day, put your hand on your sternum. The day after that, inside of your wrist, right? The day after that, it could be a different part of the body. You're building a relationship with one small part of your body at a time. And slowly the body learns that being noticed by you is not necessarily a threat. You can also work around the edges. If the inside of your body feels too overwhelming for you, anchor in the edges, the temperature of the air on your skin. That's an edge. The pressure of your clothes against your shoulder, the contact between your back and the chair. The body is a whole instrument, but you don't have to play every single string every single time. Play one note, play the rim, play around the edge, do something. If something surfaces for you during this practice, like a memory or a sensation or emotions that you're not expecting, your job is not to push it back down. It is also not to follow it all the way back out either. So no, you don't want to ignore it and push it down, but don't follow it the way it would want to take you. Your job is to stay anchored. Breathe slowly, let the wave move through. If it's too much, you stop, you open your eyes, name 3 things you can see in the room, drink a sip of water, bring yourself back to the outside before going back to the inside. There's no medal for how long you stay with a sensation, right? You don't get any props for staying with something that's dysregulating you. The work is about staying that allows you to be able to sustain it over time. If the staying is not sustainable, then what you're doing is not heroic. Once the staying becomes sustainable, that's heroic. It's saying that staying is just survival in spiritual clothes, right? You're not trying to be a hero here. You're trying to be sustainable. Get your capes, throw them out, all right? Sustainable staying is the actual practice that we're looking for. And I want to say something important here. If your trauma history is significant, please consider doing this work with a therapist, right? But do it with a therapist who is trained in somatic approaches. There are plenty of practitioners that are trained in somatic experience in sensory motor or psychotherapy and trauma informed yoga and EMDR. There's a number of modalities that can hold this work with you. You don't have to do this all by yourself. This episode is literally just a starting point. It's not a substitute for doing the deeper work that some of you probably need to do with support. There's no shame in needing a guide for this part of the road. And that is what your therapist would be. They would be a guide. So if you are in a place where therapy is not accessible for you right now, the anchors that I gave you in the previous segment are a safe, gentle entry point into this practice. I want you to use them. I want you to notice what happens. I want you to track your edges, know your body better than any guide does, right? You got to learn it. Trust the no when the no shows up. Trust when it says slow down, right? Healing that respects your pace is the only healing for you that is going to last. All right, we are going to take another break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the daily and being in crisis and what that looks like. We will be back in just a second. Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. And I hope that some of the things that we talked about in the previous segment are sitting with you. You're having the ability to kind of chew on it for a little while, because I do feel as if these concepts have to be more than concepts. They have to start being something that really are practices that you can embody in a way that is sustainable. Because remember, we said sustainability is the goal that we are aiming for. So, in this segment, I wanted us to get into talking about the daily practices, because, again, these concepts are wonderful. But if we don't have a way to do this day in and day out, when you are away from all the different people that will assist you as guides along this process, then it's not going to help you. You have to be able to sustain this on your own. So, let's talk about how you can actually live this out. You have the anchors, but the anchors only work if you actually use them. You have to practice them. And the practice part of this has two layers to it. It has the daily rhythm that you will go through, and then it has the in crisis reach that you're reaching for these anchors when you're in crisis. The daily rhythm is really your foundation. This is where your nervous system gets its retraining. And I want to pick one anchor and one ritual this week to use as an example, right? We talked about the breath being an anchor, and then I gave you a ritual that goes with that. Of all of the 6 anchors that I gave you, I want you to pick one and the ritual that goes with it. And that is what you're going to practice on putting into your daily routine. That's all, just one anchor, one ritual. Your anchor is whichever of the 6 you feel called to the most. So I talked about breath and gave, examples with that, but maybe touch, ground, weight, sound, or name speak to you more. Just pick one. Pick the one that you feel like your body's going to respond to the most quickly. Some of us are breath people. Some of us are touch people. Some of us are weight people. There's really not a hierarchy to any of this. The right anchor is the one that you're actually going to use. It only is as effective as its use. Your ritual is the moment in your day that holds the practice. So whatever that looks like, I want it to be a moment that already exists for you. So I don't want it to be on your calendar as an appointment. I want it to be a moment that's already there, that you're just putting this anchor inside of that moment. So for example, the moment your feet first touch the floor in the morning, that's touch. It's already there. You don't need to add anything else there. The 3 breaths that you take, when you first open your eyes in the morning. Maybe it's 3 breaths with your eyes closed, feet on the ground as you're turning out of the bed before you reach for anything. Whatever that looks like, you need to make that work for you, right? The moment that you sit down in your car may be where touch happens for you. And that could be where you put your hand on your chest, do your 3 breaths, or name something out loud. Whatever this looks like for you, figure out what works and what you can keep doing consistently. I want that moment to be something that's personal to you, that's easy to handle, and that is something I can go back to this daily and train myself to think about this in those moments, and not even think about it. Because remember, we talked about the body has its own memory. So really what is happening is your body just knows this is where I go to when I'm in these moments. Figure out what that looks like. The other thing I want you to do is to pick one moment and then stack anchors inside of those moments, right? Practice that every day for 1 week, right? That is the entire assignment. You're not trying to basically have this revelation and be enlightened by Sunday. No, you're training your nervous system to basically expect that in this specific moment of the day, you're returning to your body, and your nervous system has been waiting for consistent care for years. It will start to look forward to these moments. You'll feel it in the way your body responds. Now, when we're in crisis, I want to talk about the in crisis reach. This is what you reach for when the waves get big. When you get the call, when the panic rises, when the memories walk into the room uninvited, when you're about to do the thing that you swore you were not going to do again, this is when you need to figure out what your protocol is. I would say here are 3 steps. I want you to memorize this so that when the moment comes, the body knows what to do. Step 1, your feet. Both feet flat on the floor and press down into the floor. Notice the floor pressing back and say to yourself quietly, the floor is here. Step number 2, breath. 3 slow, long exhales in, right, for 4. Remember, we hold for 2 and we go out for 6. You're not trying to stop the wave. You're reminding your body that the breath is still working. And then step 3, I want you to name. Remember, say your own name out loud. It could be in a whisper, but the way you say it needs to be with kindness, compassion, and love. Your full name, the way someone who loves you might say it. You are addressing yourself directly. You are bringing yourself back into the room. Floor, breath, name. That's your in crisis anchor, because it's physiological, it's sequential, and then it's simple enough for you to remember when your mind is offline and it's overloaded. It works because the body has been waiting for someone to do this for her. And now that someone is you. So one more thing about the in crisis reach. The reason this protocol works is because it does not ask the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, to do anything sophisticated. In a real crisis, the thinking brain can go offline. Trying to reason your way out of a panic spiral is really like fighting against the waves. The wave is not interested in your logic. The wave does what it does. What it's interested in is whether or not the body can find the floor while the wave is moving through. Again, floor, breath, name. These 3 steps work because they bypass the thinking brain and speak directly to the parts of the nervous system that handle survival. They are never clever. They don't need to be clever. They just need to be available. Availability, you will find, comes with the daily practice. So practice the daily rhythm when you don't need it, so that when you do need it, the in crisis reach feels like home. It like automatically knows what to do. That's the practice. That's how your body becomes a place that you can come home to. You can't force it. It's not by being perfect, but by small, consistent returns, by your anchors that are holding you to the floor while the storm is passing its way through. Let's take our final break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do our closing remarks and send off for this episode. We will be back in just a second. So before we close, I want to say one thing to whoever has been listening to this episode and quietly fighting back tears. I want you to know that we hear you, we see you, and the body has been waiting for you. Your body has been waiting for you. It's been waiting patiently while you handled everything else, were present for everyone else. It didn't get angry, it didn't abandon you. Your heart kept beating, your lungs kept breathing, your blood kept doing what it does, moving through your body. Your body kept you upright for years and years, not having the bandwidth for you to notice her. She still was present. Your body's not your enemy. It's the most loyal companion that you could possibly ever have. So I want you to come home to her, not as a punishment. This is a reunion. Here's what I want you to take with you into this week. One, the threshold is crossed in the body, not the mind. The body has to register the safety. Once it does, it's the ground floor for all of your healing. Two, a somatic anchor is a physical sensory return to the right now. While the mind can wander, the body cannot. The body is the most reliable witness to the present you have. Three, pick one anchor, breath, touch, ground, weight, sound, or name, and stack it inside a moment that already exists for you in your day. Practice this for 1 week and then pay attention and notice what shifts. Four, if the body has been an unsafe house, go slow. 1 square inch at a time. The edges count. Work with support. That's really important. Trust the no when the no shows up and don't ignore it. 5, memorize the in crisis protocol that I gave you. Floor, breath, name. 90 seconds. The body is learning the sequence, and the sequence is now going to be the road that you can find even when you are in a dark space. And here's a quiet, beautiful thing that I think happens when your anchors are happening consistently over time. You stop reaching for the anchors only in crisis. You start anchoring in the middle of laughter because you want to be all the way present for that joy. You'll start anchoring yourself at dinner because you want to actually taste your food. You start anchoring during a hug because you want to receive the love that is being offered to you. The anchor stops being an emergency tool and now it actually becomes a way of life. You're now awake, you're present, you are home. And think about it like this: that is the gift that's waiting for you on the other side of this practice. And you don't have to depend on anyone to give it to you. You can give it to yourself. So remember that the Substack companion for this episode is going to already be live by the time you view this. It will have extended reflection prompts. It's going to have a longer guide with anchor practices for the paid subscribers. Also remember that there will be links in the show notes if you need reminders on how to get there. If this episode landed, send it to one person in your life who has been living up in their head for a long time and really needs to come back home. Sometimes the most healing thing that we can hand each other is permission and a practice. This episode, I feel like, is both of those. So don't forget, what do we need to do? You know what we say we got to do. We got work to do. We got to share, subscribe, review, like. That is how we keep this work reaching the people who need it. And next week, when we go into episode 31, we're going to keep talking about rhythm of return. And so we've already talked about being at the threshold. This episode, we walked into the door because now you have the anchors. The next question that you need to ask yourself is, how do I structure a life that lets me come back to myself again and again, over and over, and not just as an emergency response, but that becomes your way of being. We're going to get into rituals next week, rhythms, daily architecture of a rooted life. And so I want you to make sure that you come back and you join us as we do that. So I want to remind you really quickly before we get out, if you're not familiar with the Substack community, get on over to the ioway.substack.com so that you can get connected to these companion resources that come out throughout the week. I also want to remind you, get your copy of the book. Don't be out here without your Bible, right? And no discredit. I'm not trying to equate this to the Bible. I'm just saying, for the work that we are doing, rooted in resilience, a journey towards collective healing is literally the Bible for what we are doing. And so make sure you get to my website in order to purchase your copy at malaikambrown.com. store/P/rooted in resilience. We want you to get that. And I also don't want to forget to say that we have our SpeakPipe community, which is speakpipe.com/the IOA. This is a way for you to leave messages for me so I can hear your voices. You can share your testimonies, and these are things that can be stored and shared on our episodes. So remember that until then, until we get back together next week, I want you to breathe slow, put your feet on the floor, name said with kindness, take your eye a pause, let the body know you are home. I'm Dr. Malaika. This is the IOA, and I will see you next Tuesday. This is the IOA Podcast, a space for truth, tenderness, and becoming whole, one breath at a time. Make sure to like and subscribe.